Good night, everyone. Thank you for attending this press conference tonight. With great pride, I now officially confirm that polling for the 2025 Bougainville General Election is complete. I would like to extend thanks to all voters who have cast their ballots and to those who have worked hard to deliver this election. This election has shown the commitment of our people. For the majority, the process went smoothly, and they were able to cast their votes. We also recognize the frustrations some faced, and we take this seriously. I'm pleased to report that polling is now complete in all 38 constituencies. The 3 special polling places for Bougainvilleans who are in Bougainville but outside of their constituency, and the 5 special polling places for Bougainvilleans outside Bougainville. Polling was conducted peacefully across Bougainville on Friday, the 5th of September, following polling in Atol's constituency on Thursday, the 4th of September. Polling was also rescheduled to Monday, the 8th of September, for Bougainvilleans outside Bougainville, or BOV, voters who are enrolled in constituencies in central Bougainville. While in Eastern Highlands Province, polling was conducted for all 3 regions, North, Central, and South Bougainville, on Monday, the 8th of September. When late starts on the 5th of September meant some voters could have missed out, polling was extended. Polling in select locations were extended on the 6th of September to allow people who were in the queue at closing time on the 5th to vote on Saturday, the 6th of September. These decisions were made carefully based on assessments made by the assistant returning officers, and myself within the law to make sure eligible voters had a chance to vote. With the introduction of one-day polling for the 2025 Bougainville General Elections, I would like to share with you some information on how we developed the one-day polling schedule and determine the number of teams and officials to deploy. A key advantage of one-day polling is that it creates additional safeguards against fraud, and OBEC is committed to continually improving the integrity of elections and to promoting their sustainability. To develop the polling schedule for voting in Bougainville and to maintain sustainable service levels, OBEC analyzed previous polling schedules and electoral roll data, seeking to ensure that the numbers of voters per polling booth would remain appropriate. As a result, we decided to increase the number of polling teams by over 100 for a total of 536 teams in Bougainville. Some wards have larger or geographically dispersed populations, and so additional polling teams were deployed to those wards. We also increased the number of polling officials in some teams to help speed up the process. However, as I have said before, election funding was difficult, which both delayed and compressed the electoral roll update, and so final electoral roll data was not available before the polling schedule was decided. In many wards, the measures were effective. However, in some wards, particularly those who were the start of polling, was delayed due to compressed deployment times. Polling teams had difficulty serving all voters in a timely manner. Long queues also happened in some places because of the high turnout and because poll clerks were thorough in looking names on the roll. The process of looking voters up on the roll can sometimes take time, and accuracy is important. OBEC will review the model closely as part of its post-election review to address these for the future elections. We thank voters who were affected for bearing with us and for your dedication to using your right to vote. For Bougainvilleans outside Bougainville and for Bougainvilleans inside Bougainville but outside of their constituency, I also acknowledge the long wait times of those voters at several special voting places. And at Beeb and Bob polling venues, voters are required to vote via special declarations. One of the challenges with the current model of special voting services is that we cannot know in advance how many voters from which constituencies will seek to vote at a special voting polling place, as there is no requirement for pre-registration. Noting these uncertainties, in preparation for one-day polling in 2025, OBEC analyzed the turnout at special voting places from previous elections. We tripled the number of polling booths operating in each special voting place, and within each of these polling booths, OBEC doubled the number of polling officials. We also equipped every polling booth with access to electronic roll lookup to help speed up finding voter names on the certified list of voters. Again, I wish to thank the voters for their patience and reassure you that we will take steps to improve this in future ABG general elections. I have heard some of your questions, so I would like to explain the reasons for one-day polling. We learned from past elections that multiple polling days increases the risk for ballot storage, concerns about and multiple voting. By moving to one-day polling, we reduced the risks and made the process more secure. OBEC introduced one-day polling as part of its efforts to continually improve electoral services in Bougainville. OBEC can set the polling date or dates anytime within the polling period specified in the rates. One-day polling has the potential to reduce concerns about multiple voting, strengthen integrity, simplify the voter experience, and reduce cost. We've heard some of your concerns that some people showed up to vote but did not find their name on the roll. We have investigated some of these individual claims over the weekend. I must first stress that OBEC worked hard to make the roll as complete and up-to-date as possible. Before the election, we did our best to cross-check the roll against ward registers. We go door to door to enroll new voters and create a display roll so voters could check their details and request amendments to the final roll. In a first, OBEC also went to schools to enroll Bougainvilleans who had just turned 18. We made the most comprehensive roll we could. I must also emphasize that enrollment isn't automatic. It's something that voters need to take action to do. The same goes for transferring to a new ward or changing your name. For example, when we investigate some individual claims, we found that some voters were on the PNG electoral roll for PNG elections, but hadn't enrolled in Bougainville. Some thought that they were enrolled automatically during census. Some changed their names when they got married, and some may have moved to a new ward and didn't transfer their enrollment. In the lead up to the election, we also provided SMS lookup and public roll display so people could check the details ahead of polling. About 87% of people who checked the SMS service were on the roll, which gave us and them confidence in its comprehensiveness. OBEC encourages anyone who missed out to enroll at the next available opportunity. Counting will start on the 11th of September following materials return and intake. This is a minor deviation from OBEC's timelines to provide sufficient time for safe return and quality checks on the materials returning to Buka. And we are currently working with the airline we contracted to return Bob materials to resolve an issue with their aircraft. We aim to complete the count and return the reach by 22nd of September. OBEC has established 4 counting centers, counting for the former combatants, women and single-member constituencies. Seats will be centralized at the regional counting centers. one for each North Bougainville, Central Bougainville, and South Bougainville. Counting for the presidential seat will centralize in Presidential Count Center in Buka. The limited preferential voting counting system, or the process, takes time as it progresses through first preferential count, quality checks, and on to distribution of preferences until a candidate secures an absolute majority of 50% plus one. The duration of count depends upon many factors, especially the turnout and the number of participating candidates. Scrutineers and observers will be able to monitor these proceedings. More updates on the conduct of count will be provided in the coming days. As we close, I want to say this election is a big moment for Bougainville as we choose our 5th parliament. Voters come out in strong numbers, and for most Bougainvilleans, the process went smoothly. Every election brings with it its lessons, and we take on board your feedback so that we can keep improving. I want to thank all voters, our polling officials, the Bougainville Police Service, observers, scrutineers, and the communities for your patience and commitment. It shows how deeply Bougainvilleans care about our democracy. This election reminds us that our voices matter, and together we are shaping the future of Bougainville. Let us be proud of how far we have come and continue to work together in the spirit of unity, peace, and respect for one another. As we move into counting, I encourage everyone to follow updates from OBEC's Facebook page, our website, and the media. We will keep sharing accurate information as we go, and I look forward to giving you more news in the coming days. Thank you.